Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest opposition preview show here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Following on from an ultimately disappointing result against West Brom, we travel up to Bramall Lane to face Sheffield United, one of the form teams in the entire country at home. Probably the last team we really want to be playing. Before I welcome on my special guest, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, my special guest today runs his own Sheffield United YouTube channel, the Shoreham View. And it is a pleasure to welcome on Jonny. Afternoon, Jonny. How are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. How's all your way?
Yeah, all very good, apart from our very poor defeat against West Brom. Nobody saw that coming.
Messing up my hackers. Can you stop it now? Because I'm losing so much money on Bournemouth this season. Every game I back you seem to lose.
Do you know what? I've stopped actually putting money on us. It's with that unpredictable. I thought that it was a dead cert yesterday, but it was poor, very, very poor, and we need to bounce back. What better place to do it than Bramall Lane against a team who have, apart from Liverpool and Mansfield, got the best home record in the last 10.
How has that happened? We've got, I think our best striker is about 12. Half the team's injured. We get one player back from injury, and then we lose two more. I don't know how we're pulling it off. Other night, not scored a set piece all season. Then Ollie Norwood sticks it in bottom corner directly from some kind of weird rehearsed set play. So we're scraping them these home wins, and thank God we are, because if it weren't for that, we'd have fell out of this playoff picture a long time ago. So I've said all this now. We've said all this about the home form. You'll come and beat us 2-0 now.
Well, after the other night, I'm not so sure, to be honest. I'm not that confident. Firstly, let's discuss your channel, because the Shoreham View, very, very impressive channel. Do tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, I've been making videos since I was a kid. I was really a big fan of Jackass as a kid, so I started making videos. Went to college and all that nonsense, didn't like it, and then got a real job. As I got a bit older, I started just filming me and my mates at football and thought, people might like this. People just chatting drunken nonsense, and that's when the vlogs were born. From there, it kind of took on a bit of a life of its own, so now we do vlogs. We try to do other things as well. We've got a few interviews with players on there, not like other channels, which are heavy podcast focused. If I don't like doing the whole Zoom thing with former players. If I meet a former player, I want to go and sit down with them, kind of thing, and have a good chat. And the other thing we do is something called Beer and Breakfast. Imagine a fan's version of Soccer AM that isn't really badly cheesy, but also not the other extreme of really badly 90s. We try and find that middle mark. We bring that out as, instead of a match preview, try and have a bit of fun with it. And we don't take ourselves too seriously. So if you just want to watch some lads enjoy a good day out at football, watching a away game this season, because you'll also see grown lads having their days ruined at the end of it by watching the football, then head over to our channel.
No, it's really, really good. And all the details of the Shoreham view will be in the description as well. So let's talk about Sheffield United's season. Let's go a little bit further back than that. So the Premier League last year. So at the start of that season, you had Chris Wilder in charge.
Mm-hmm.
You'd had a fantastic season the year beforehand. And it was really, really looking promising. Made some good signings. And then the wheels fell off. What happened?
A bit simplistic way of looking at it, but near enough. Replacing Dean Henderson with Aaron Ramsdale is a bit like replacing a gourmet cheese with Baby Bell, in my view. A lot of Arsenal fans will disagree with me. He's won a lot of plaudits, etc., etc. He's easily found out. Put it out of his reach. Low goal. Score early. Face on. Rest of the game. Very Pickford-esque at times. But, people like him. That's fine. The other big problem was a lot of our game plan was all centered down the overlapping centre halves, as the press loved to load as though it was something brand new. It wasn't brand new. Chris Wilder just knew what he had to work with, and he was not scared to do it in the higher leagues. That's a tactic you've seen in League One and League Two for the last 10 years, because they can't afford to go out and get a ball-winning midfielder. So they have to stick 4 banks of 3 there and hope that they can push up and join in. What we did, we kind of perfected it by finding good footballing centre halves. We've got Chris Basham, used to be a midfielder, tough on the ball. You've got Egan in there as a stopper, brilliant at kind of sweeping up and cleaning up any mess. And you had Jack O'Connell, naturally left-footed, a cert for the England squad. The fact that Tyrone Mings got picked so much over Jack O'Connell in the 1920 season still baffles me to this day. Oh, but Tyrone Mings were in left footer. Well, so were Jack O'Connell. And he were a far better player. And everything we did involved him running down and overlapping, which gave Ender Stevens the chance to kind of go forward as well, get the balls in. And if he lost the ball, he didn't have to panic because he could come back and Jack O'Connell would cover him. We lost Jack O'Connell. We lost John Fleck to an injury and then bad form. And we still haven't got Jack O'Connell back. So let's think about this. We played most of the Premier League season. One, with no fans to boost us. So bless the players. You've got your players like Billy Sharp who thrive off having fans there. And a lot of other players that have had that for 3 years of good times, of 4 years of good times, of just being there to boost us. None of that. No Jack O'Connell. He's replaced with Jack Robinson. No disrespect. It's chalk and cheese. Championship is done well this season. Premier League is another story. So I think it was less of being found out and more of a failure to adapt to what we actually had available. And I think that's where it kind of fell apart for us. As for good signings, Oliver Burke, are we sure about that one?
It's a good point that you make with empty stadiums. And of course, Sheffield United were on the ascendancy at that point. We found it very, very difficult the season we were relegated from the Premier League. And there was that time when, before we went into lockdown, we'd just been narrowly beaten by Liverpool, the eventual champions.
Yeah.
We looked on our way to a victory against Chelsea until that was robbed from us. And then we went into lockdown. And after that, we just couldn't get restarted. And I think a lot of that was because the lack of fans. And I'm guessing that was a similar sort of experience that Sheffield United had.
Yeah, I mean, the first game after lockdown is where we lost Jack O'Connell and John Fleck, 2 key players, especially on the left-hand side. So what they needed more than anything, that game against Aston Villa, was the away fans in the crowd giving them the 12th man treatment to push them on, to get them over this little speed bump. And then, of course, the whole Hawkeye thing happened. And, the rest of the season, we're going to get through after that one. But you guys have got to feel that, because that is what sent you down.
It is, yes.
You've got to look at these things. After that game, I think they were that shocked because after a performance like that, you know you've been robbed. You can walk to the away fans with your head held high, and clap the away fans and get it back. There were none of that. You're walking down a sanitized tunnel, 5 meters apart, and you're not allowed to have an huddle. It was just. I don't think they should have restarted the season.
I completely agree.
You've had to abandon the season, which a lot of people would have thought was criminal. I don't think you could have finished in the places you were in. That's far too many complications. You either have to wait and kind of have 2 seasons in one, or you have to write it all off. Those are the only 2 options. I think restarting when we did, under the circumstances we did, only benefited the teams that were already established. And those of us that were thriving off crowd support, thriving off momentum. Teams like Bournemouth, teams like Sheffield United, teams that went down that season, teams that like Aston Villa, who have got a fan base that are so topsy-turvy. They love them one minute, they hate them the next. Their fans were so on their back. Having those fans removed benefited them. Whereas it hindered teams like us. So I can't blame us going down on the fans not being there, but it'd be daft to say it didn't play a part.
And of course, Hawkeye, as you mentioned, had a bad effect for both of us, for the morale for Sheffield United, but also it was effectively, if that didn't happen, we would have stayed in the Premier League. And Eddie would probably have stayed on. And of course, the following season was a difficult one for us. Again, in empty stadiums. I think we had 2 games, if I remember correctly, where we could have fans in the crowd.
Aston Villa don't go down. Aston Villa don't go down. They don't have the money to go and buy Matty Cash, who was a Sheffield United target. We lose George Baldock for a good 30% of the season. Established player, one of our better players. We have to rely on Jayden Bogle, who did really well, but he's a young lad. He's not got much experience, especially at that level. It's all ifs and buts, and it's all conspiracy theories at this point. But it could have been so different for a lot of clubs if it had been handled better, I think.
And of course, Chris Wilder left in March of the relegation season as well, after doing such a fantastic job getting the club from League One into the Premier League. Was the writing on the wall pretty much after that point? And did you imagine that it was going to take a big job to turn the club around?
I'm going to get so much stick from my own fans saying this. The writing were on the wall the day that Prince Abdullah's team took 100% control of the club, in my humble opinion. That's not to say I were a Kevin McCabe fan, who was joint owner at the time. If you'll excuse the crude analogy, it was like picking which testy he could live without. It was like picking between the 2 of those. Chris Wilder wanted a new training pitch, not a new training ground, a new training pitch. It got promised it, £1 million. We've got the same training pitches we have now, and Paul Eckingbottom's gone out in the press and said it's causing soft tissue injuries in players in a time when we're losing players to injury. So it's nothing new. This was back in the Chris Wilder days. We then found out that money had been spent on a player to bring to the club that was then sent immediately out on loan to a foreign club. So he couldn't have a new training ground. I think that sums up why Chris Wilder left. A lot of people, there are a lot of, I don't know how, there are a lot of Sheffield United fans who are Chris Wilder detractors. Think he's a traitor, think he walked away, think he left a sinking ship and it was all ego and this, that and the other. There are those that are completely the opposite, who think, it was all the Prince's fault. I think both men just couldn't work together anymore. Bad from Wilder, good from Wilder. The Prince has done good things. The Prince has done bad things. But when you can't have a boss who has a different vision to you and keep jamming heads, especially when the team's failing, and continue to stay there, it'd been no good for anybody. That we could have been in bigger danger now if it had maybe carried on.
And then once relegation was confirmed and you was back in the Championship, you bought in Slaviska. Yeah, I can't say it properly.
You can Slav.
Big Slab, that's it. Yeah, we'll refer to him as that. He didn't get off to a great start.
This is going to sound very elitist. He doesn't play Northern football. Lots of tippy-tappy stuff, which is great at times. When it came to the harder side of the game, which you'd think a man with his pedigree would have more of, because he was an hard player. There was no real fight in the way he lined up and played football. He tried to play it very South of France continental. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. 18 touches in your own half behind the Iron Curtain kind of thing. It just wasn't productive. And when you could see what he wanted to do, you could see where he wanted to build the attack slowly and then press up. We don't have the players to make that work. And when he's not getting any investment for players, it was never going to work. I think it was a statement signing to get season tickets in. And that was that. It was doomed to fail from the start, I think, which is a shame because he has done well at a lot of places. But sometimes a manager just doesn't fit a club.
And yep, very, very true. And we found that with Jason Tyndall last season, that, you know, a legend. We thought the continuation of Eddie Howe, and, you know, at first it looked good, but eventually it all unravelled. Jonathan Woodgate got us across the line into the playoffs, kept us there really, but we fell short. But you've got Heckingbottom in charge now.
Hey, more of a Barnsley legend, to be fair. He very, very good coach. I did have doubts about his man management style, especially after, because he took over from Wilder as a caretaker. And you could see the coaching side was there and the belief from the players was there. But I had my doubts after seeing him at Leeds and Hibs. But then you go look at Leeds and Hibs. One's Leeds of 10 years ago, which was like going to put out a fire with a thimble full of water. It was never going to happen. No manager was going to be successful there until it changed at a boardroom level. And then Hibs is Hibs. It's Scottish football. What you meant to do, unless you're Celtic or Rangers, what more can you do? There's no money there. Oh, we'll take 18 kids from academy, and while Heckingbottom is good at doing that, there's no real ceiling to break through. So there's only one way, and that's downwards. So maybe I prejudged him a little bit. I was always happy with him being involved in the first team setup. As a manager, I had my doubts, but I've never been so happy to be proven wrong, because I think he has got what it takes to prove himself as a top-class manager. Now he's got some stability currently. I'll say currently because you never know with this club.
You are in 6th spot, and you know the home form is very, very good. And as you mentioned there, with Big Slav, as we'll call him from now on, I'm not going to try and pronounce the surname. Sorry, Slav. But the thing is with Scott Parker, we do play the very passing football. The other day between Lloyd Kelly and Nat Phillips, we had numerous passes, you know, and a lot of successful passes, but I believe there was about 19 unsuccessful ones. And we had 0 shots on target, 17 off target. We don't seem to be able to cope with long ball teams. Is that probably what Heckingbottom is going to be planning, considering he's probably watched that West Brom game?
I don't think we've got the capability to be a long ball team, even if we wanted to try and kind of change the plan at the minute. We've got Ollie McBurney, who's probably our tallest striker. So immediately everything's target man. He likes it at his feet. He wins a lot of headers in midfield. Not so many in the area through a mix of poor positioning, poor crosses, and just not being strong enough with a big centre half. I think what you got to look more with us is finding a long range pass to cut out the midfield and maybe using the pockets a bit more. So it won't be humped into the box, ready for headers and flick-ons. I think it'll be more a Sanderberger, an Ollie Norwood, waiting for a player to find a pocket of space, pinging it to him, and then we'll probably put it out for a goal kick or some daft stuff. But if you're telling me that's what you're suffering from, that'd be more what you'd need to worry about rather than long punts into the box.
And to be fair, the second goal against West Brom, believe it or not, Andy Carroll scored with his feet. As soon as you hear the name Andy Carroll and the scoring, you think, well, he's got his nut on it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was an individual piece of skill, but he really shouldn't have had the space.
Yeah.
And would you say that, considering we've sold Steve Cook,
I was surprised by that one.
Yeah, I was, and very disappointed. We've sold him to what is now a promotion rival in Nottingham Forest on equal number of games. They're 8 points behind, but they are in the best form in the Championship at the moment, home and away. Gary Cahill isn't seeming to get a look in at the moment. Do you think defensively we are vulnerable?
I think that if we had a Billy Sharp fit, I think if we had a first team that was not running on fumes, very possibly so. But I think now, because we're having to rely on younger players, these players such as Gary Cahill, it'd be the right time for them to come into the team to sew that up. And even if they're not, even if you've got some of your, let's say, less preferred centre halves in, if they're big and strong, they can cause a player like Daniel Jebison a lot of problems. He's still a growing lad. He still needs to fill out a bit. And if you've got somebody in there who's going to be authoritative in the box, you can keep him at bay. On him at Burnley, as I've just stated. In midfield, brilliant at winning headers. In the area, he's not difficult to defend against, unfortunately, for us, which is a shame because I like the guy. As far as defensively frail, it all depends what team Parker wants to put out. He seems to pick a side that does well because he's picked the right side for that game. But then he leaves that same side for 3 or 4 games and it may have not been the right side to use. And then he thinks, well, it all seems to have gone to pot. I'll change a team. Oh, we're playing. I'll adapt it to that team. Oh, we've won. But I'll keep that same side again for 3 or 4 weeks. See, people seem to think it's a sacrilege to chop and change. It's not. If you've got players available, you adapt to who you're playing against. That may be seen as a bit negative, but it's the way to get results. So I don't think you're defensively frail. I just think that maybe Parker needs to reassess what kind of lineup he's going to put out each game.
And that's my big concern, is that we aren't winning ugly. I think some of these games against West Brom, we should have played them at their own game. But I don't think, and it's something that Fulham fans warned us of, it doesn't seem like he's got that plan B. Likewise, up front, Solanke, if Solanke gets an injury with Kiefer Moore out, still, that's again is quite a risk. And of course, Jamal Lowe hasn't had as much game time as we'd have liked. One big player in the Sheffield United ranks is Morgan Gibbs-White, who joined on loan from Wolves. And I know Heckingbottom wants him for next season. How determined is that on whether or not Sheffield United get back into the Premier League? First time of asking.
No, I don't think it really matters. I want Amelia Clark to be my wife, but it's not happening, is it? You know what I mean? Whether I'm dirt poor or a millionaire, look at his face. It ain't happening. So I don't think Morgan Gibbs-White will be coming back to Bramall Lane on anything other than maybe a loan spell. And even then, I think it's highly doubtful, which is a shame because Morgan Gibbs-White up front with Billy Sharp is lethal. And I mean lethal. They complement each other perfectly. He's been a breath of fresh air when we really needed it from a slow start to the season. Bags of ability. Too many flicks and tricks at times. When it comes off, it's brilliant, but it can be frustrating. But he's a youngish player, so you've got to forgive that a little bit. If there is going to be 2 players to watch, it's going to be Morgan Gibbs-White and it's going to be Iliman Ndiaye, who is a younger version of Gibbs-White and has the potential to be maybe even better if he can find some consistency. I mean, if you look at the goal he scored against Fulham, one of the few teams to beat Fulham at Craven Cottage this season, and it was just a wonder goal. So that we do have that in us in the team, which need to be showing it a little bit more. But no, I think we need to focus more on making Ndiaye into the player Gibbs-White is, and maybe even better, because I don't see us bringing Morgan Gibbs-White back anytime soon.
Where do you think that you will finish, considering your home form, what Heckingbottom's done since he's been in charge? Because let's be fair, if we take out Big Slav's period, you'd be in a lot more fruitful position. We take out the first 15 games, and the league table would look a lot different, wouldn't it?
100%. I mean, we've only got 2 away games left, which is a really big bonus. A lot of our games are at home, which kind of gives us a little bit of confidence. But we're Sheffield United, so it doesn't matter where we finish in the playoffs. We're going to lose in the playoff final like we always do. You know, it's like second nature to us all now. It's not even a joke anymore. It's just like, oh, Wembley, nice one. See you on way back home when we've lost again. But where we're actually going to finish in that playoff picture, I think if we get players starting to come back from injury sooner rather than later, your Bashams, your Sharps, this new lad we brought in who did a good 60 minutes before going off injured. We could finish 5th, 4th, maybe. Other than that, I think we're just going to be fighting for that 6th spot.
Can you put our minds at ease now?
Go on.
Will we do it, and will we stay in those top 2? Because I'm worried about Forest.
I've seen Forest twice this season, and they are not as good as they think they are. But what they have got is a lot of belief and a lot of momentum. We were at their place. We were winning. Morgan Gibbs-White. Credit to them, they never stopped all game. And this won the Slav, and we were easily in cruising, and that were a problem because when you're cruising, a team with belief and momentum. First time I've heard City ground noisy. It's usually like a library, but even the fans have got the belief. Yeah. So even they're noisy and off their feet and giving it some. And they came, and they got that equaliser. And they did the exact same thing at Bramall Lane. And whenever they're grinding out results like that, they're a danger. I think your biggest problem is the fact that they've been knocked out the FA Cup. I as a playoff contender, wanted it to be a Middlesbrough versus Nottingham Forest FA Cup final, because then they'll be knackered and they'll be rubbish for the playoff. I think it all depends, not on this next game, because I think that's too soon to call it. I think it's going to come, because haven't you got them coming up as well?
We've got them in our final home game, and that was the game that they turned around back in February when Storm Eunice was around, and they said, oh, yeah, you've made sure that you got that game cancelled because you've had injuries. Personally, I'd rather have played them then.
Yeah. Get 5 points at your next 3 games and you're up. 5 points in the next 3 and you're up. I don't think they'll catch up with that. And I hope you're right. I don't think they've got it in them to be that consistent, because they've been consistent for a long time now. Even when they're not losing, they might not always be winning, but they're not losing. Sometimes winning 1 game and losing 2, winning 2 games and losing 2 is better than drawing 4. So if they keep getting draws here, there, and everywhere, and you pick up a big win, that's going to put you in better stead than Forest.
I hope you're right.
By the way, my maths is awful. I'm actually dyslexic in maths. So if that made absolutely no sense, I know what I meant anyway.
I was looking at it as we need 3 wins and a draw, and Forest can get to 88 points. That would put us on 82. I think 82 would be enough. But
5 points in your next 3 games, and you've done it.
Yeah, I really hope you're right. Jonny, because yes, it's of course our second season after being down, and I think we need to do it if we want to keep hold of our star players as well. But of course, look into this match. How do you think it will go? Do you think that we could come up there wounded after that West Brom game and get a result, or do you think you'll carry on that fantastic home form?
I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One, is Cantwell fit?
Cantwell is fit. However, he has been out the side, and Lewis Cook has been preferred. And Lewis Cook, against Bristol City, was the man of the match. He was outstanding. And Cantwell come off at half-time against Reading. We was 1-0 up, really we should have been 4 or 5 up.
Yeah.
And in that second half, everything fell apart. And this is the problem with Scott Parker and, my concerns about him, because I think he thought, right, we're 1-0 up against Reading, we'll just hold it back. And you can't do that in the Championship. As crap as Reading were, you can't do it against anybody.
Yeah. What was the big lad who scored against us at your place this season?
Billing.
Yeah. If Billing and Cantwell play, you can nick a 1-0, 1-0. If they don't play, it'll be a 0-0, or we'll have another 1-0 win.
Yeah. I'm going to say, and I don't normally, but as we said, I never bet, for Bournemouth in accumulators. But of course, being a Bournemouth fan, I've got to put nail my colours to the mast here. I can't see us getting anything up there. I can't see us getting anything. Considering
the early kickoff's not going to help you either.
No, it's not. It's not. And there is going to be a lot of pressure on us from the get-go, because we know if we don't get the 3 points, Forest have got Birmingham. Now, let's be honest, Forest should beat Birmingham.
They should.
You'll be closer to us. Yes. Yeah, very true. You never know in the Championship, do you?
No. I said this earlier today on a Championship programme. Just when you think you've got this division sussed out, it just laughs in your face, because there's been so many twists and turns. There could be another 3. You never know. Luton could end up winning up second. I don't want to panic here or anything.
But you look at QPR, who was your last game. And
they were awful. They were the worst team I've seen at Bramall Lane this season. And I've seen Peterborough at Bramall Lane this season.
They've just collapsed, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah. That's always a danger, though. You play well for so long, one bad result can send you on a spiral. I think as worried as you are, I think you've avoided that this season. You've had a few bad results in a row, but you've not gone on a full-on downward spiral like a QPR. Like West Brom, look how they started the season.
Yeah.
And where they are now. Birmingham, look how they started the season. You've managed to avoid that downward spiral. And I think if Forest hit a few bad games, that could be the end of their that could be the end of their promotion push.
Let's hope, and I'm sure that you're hoping that as well. But yeah, I think, to be honest, I think you'll probably beat us, and I think it'll probably be a 2-1 win. I think we'll score. I think Solanke will get a goal, but I think you'll beat us, and of course that'll put you as well within 5 points.
Don't give me hope. Don't do something cruel like give me hope. I'm happy being a pessimist.
My mate keeps turning around to me and saying, yeah, we're going to do it. We'll be fine. Don't panic. But, there's always that nagging doubt in the Championship, isn't there? That it's just going to spring you a horrible surprise.
I think we're too wise to it. We're not a Man U or a Chelsea. You've been down in League One like we have. I think we've both been down there. We know how badly a season can turn round on like a 5p piece. We're wise to it now. We don't expect anything, do we?
No, exactly. Well, again, Jonny, thank you so much for joining me on this show today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and all the very best with the Shoreham view. All the very best for the rest of the season as well. Hopefully you can, come up through the playoffs with us. Just leave us at second. But all the very, very best for the rest of the season. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be doing this next season as well. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Let's hope so. Let's hope it's a Premier League one, though, eh? And thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, likewise, Jonny. Thanks so much again, mate.
Cheers. Take care.
And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this opposition preview show. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe, and the bell button below to find out about all our new videos that we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please do check out Jonny's channel, The Shoreham View. All the details are in the description below. Please also do check out our interviews. We've had interviews with Steve Cook, Steve Fletcher. We've had Effin Akuku, Luther Blizzard. We've got many more coming as well. Also, we will be doing a regular podcast coming up soon with Chris Warrawlins, who's going to be joining the team. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're even going to be doing some fake bets, let's call it, on numerous different sports. More of that to come. Until the next video, up the cherries, and I'll see you then.